We good?
You good to go?
All right, very good. We're going to call this July 23, 2014 workshop to order. Mary Jo will be here in a few minutes, so we'll get started without her. A couple of things I wanted to talk about before I put Jean on. One, I wanted to let the board make them aware of today was pretty much everything that Jean Minner was going to introduce today about the Wilmapco, the Planning Department annual report, and also the memorandum of understanding for the East High Street and Locust Lane sidewalk improvements. But I was in here this morning and kind of a concept to educate DJ and I, but also to bring you guys back up to date, I guess just bring you back in the loop. I've asked Jean to kind of give her give us an understanding of what the planning department does, what the planning board does, and so she's going to incorporate that into her agenda here today. So we'll give her a few additional minutes so we can kind of get her out of the mix. So the first thing I wanted to ask the board to consider for, I'm going to bring this up at the meeting on our next public meeting, the Golden Elk Showcase sponsorship form. The Elkton High School Music Boosters will be hosting a tournament of the bands competition on September 28th. So going along with We Are Elkton, trying to get behind Elkton High School and our community, I'm going to ask the town on that night, maybe we could be one of the golden sponsors for $200. So give that some thought. I'll find the money out of the budget. I know there's some mayor and commissioners fund that we can pull that out of, but this is something that I'd like to sponsor for the high school, the marching bands, and I would certainly be there representing the town. I hope we all can be there. Maybe we can start our own band. I don't know.
I think it's a good idea because I know over the past few years when I was at Elkton High School, their music program had gone down, specifically the band, and now there's a new director, and I think he's local, and certainly would be good to help him, and not only that, to help the town of Elkton as well, because sometimes we need the Elkton band for a lot of activities that you have.
Yes, I agree.
You said it's the 28th.
Let's see.
Sunday?
Let's see. Let me get this here.
No, September 20th.
It was Saturday, September 27th.
27th.
The Golden Elk Showcase, marching band competition. Appears as there's going to be a tremendous amount of bands and activity in the town of Elkton, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, with that, we'll bring that up the night that we can vote on it. Jean Minner, I'd like to introduce Jean Minner to the board and the group, and Jean, you are on with all these agenda items today. It's your floor today.
Thank you. I think first I'd like to start with the bicycle grant. That way Tamika doesn't have to sit through the rest of the meeting. She can present what's necessary for this grant. Tamika, if you want to come up. The town of Elkton adopted a bicycle master plan in January of 2011.
Did you introduce her?
I'm sorry, this is Tamika Graham with Wilmapco. Wilmapco is the Wilmington Area Planning Council. It's a regional transportation planning
Is this the board that
agency.
DJ was nominated for? Yes.
Yes.
That I can't do because I'm not the mayor.
Actually, they corrected that.
The mayor can.
Actually, they corrected that, and they said the mayor can appoint someone
Oh,
to
my God.
represent the town.
Congratulations, Mr. Gibbons.
It's good.
So with the bicycle master plan, there were some recommendations to achieve some of the goals of the bicycle master plan. Some of the goals included signage, striping, and bicycle racks. And it's my understanding that the mayor, Casona, when several months ago, had worked with the county and trying to incorporate all the bicycle plans for the towns in the county and make it have a single coordinated grant application to help us achieve some of the goals in each of our plans. And Tamika, I'll let you describe that process.
Actually, a handout.
Take it to the mic. Well, that's what you could imagine if Wilmapco rep without handouts.
So I'm basically here to talk about the FY14 grant, Bikeways grant that was awarded to Cecil County, as Jean noted. WMAPCO is providing coordination assistance for this particular effort. So we've been working with the county and the towns, MDOT and SHA. And I was here maybe about a year ago, right before we submitted the grant, to talk about the details. And I've been asked to come back today and to provide you a bit of an update. It's been a while. I kind of want to talk about 3 points. The first is a little bit of background. Jean kind of led into that already. And then secondly, I want to talk a little bit about the grant in case anyone needs highlights of it. And then the last part, I want to talk a little bit about our timeline and what we've been up to this past year, and also what are our next steps. So just in terms of background, Jean kind of alluded to it with the bike plan. It's kind of an accepted fact that bicycling provides benefits for everyone in the community. We know that it's a way to reduce congestion. It's a way to make the town more livable. It provides benefits to tourism and many other things. And so a few years ago, when Elkton realized all those benefits and requested this bike plan, and as Jean mentioned, it takes a comprehensive approach. It looks not only at physical improvements, but also institutional improvements as well. Interestingly, and actually not surprisingly, during the development of Elkton's plan, there was a vast amount of interest to kind of extend the plan countywide. And so the Elkton Bicycle Plan and the countywide bicycle plan presented short-term and long-term recommendations for bicycle improvements. And for the short term, we suggested going after the low-hanging fruit, and those are things that are low cost, but they have significant benefits to the community, and those things include bike parking and bike signage. I think you also had a separate handout for the summary of recommendations, and it does include many actions that relate to bicycle signage and bicycle parking. So this grant is in complete alignment with your bicycle plan, which is also complementary to your comprehensive plan and the transportation goals that are included. So, about a year ago, there was a meeting to basically talk about the possibility of submitting a grant, and due to the competitive nature of the grant, it was decided in a meeting with all the towns to submit it together, as Jean mentioned. One of the reasons is, like I said, it's competitive in nature, so we didn't want the towns in Cecil County to compete against one another, as well as municipalities and counties throughout the state. We basically have the county as the sponsor for this grant, and I'll talk a little bit about the grant. In the handout, the first page is basically a brochure of the program, and it just explains what this grant program is about. A couple of years ago, the state initiated the Cycle Maryland program, the Cycle Maryland initiative, which basically offers funding to promote bicycle improvements throughout the state. And each year, millions of dollars are available for a variety of improvements, whether they're low cost. You can even apply for construction funding through this stream. We're in the so, as you can see on the second page, we're in the category of minor retrofit. That's where bicycle signage and bicycle parking fall under. There are two, the grant is a reimbursable program, and there are two tiers. The first tier is 100% for towns that are considered priority, which Elkton does fall under, and then the second category is not priority, which is only 50% reimbursable. So we actually submitted two grants to capture all of the towns that are a priority, and then a second one for Cecilton, Rising Sun, that will be reimbursed at 50%. But you'll see here, this is specifically for Elkton and for the towns that are considered priority. The next few pages is just an overview about the eligibility. The last page was actually provided to you last year before we submitted. It's basically a summary of the improvements that Elkton will receive through the grant. Elkton is anticipated to receive 7 bike racks, bicycle signage, and bicycle pavement markings in the form of sharrows, which are share lane markings on a portion of Main Street and North Street. And a sharrow is, it basically just conveys to motorists that they should share the lane with bicyclists, and it's typically used on streets that where bike lanes are absent. And again, this is a competitive grant, so it's something that the town should be proud of, that you have been awarded this money. There's a ton of information on the state's website, so if you want more information, you can certainly.
The town will install the bike racks, right?
Yes, that leads into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So the second part of the handout is what I'm presenting today, and that's basically the responsibilities of everyone involved in the grant. And you'll see there, it talks about the design, who's going to provide the signs and post, the sign installation, the bike rack purchase, as well as the installation and pavement markings. So the towns, as you have already committed to, basically before we even submitted, that the towns would do the installation as in kind.
So that appears to be the only obligation that we have, is to install the bike racks.
That is correct. So as I mentioned, the county is
And signage.
and the signage, I'm sorry. So as I mentioned, the county is the sponsor, so the state funding will flow through them. SHA will use the grant funds to purchase the signs and the signposts, and they will install on the state roads, and the towns will receive the signage and the posts, and you will install, and the bike racks, which are going to be purchased by Cecil County, and then you do the installation. There's basically a 4-step process with the grant. After it's awarded, we're basically in between like step 2 and step 3. We've already submitted a work program. That was immediately after the grant was awarded, and that basically summarizes a step-by-step schedule for the plan that was submitted to MDOT. The next step is to submit to MDOT all of the any additional work that pertains to the grant. We've actually been delayed in that area. We had a meeting some time ago, last year, with SHA and with all the parties involved, and we had some issues just determining who would do the design work for us. We thought that SHA would do it, and then there was some miscommunication there, and then they finally came back to us this April and said that they would commit to doing the design work. So since then, we've been waiting to basically review this design for the signage and pavement markings. So we have not received those yet. They're still reviewing them internally. So in terms of our next steps, we are trying to set up a meeting with all the towns and counties, as well as MDOT and SHA, to talk about to review the draft signage and pavement plan. The last part of the packet is a letter.
Did you say SHA was going to do the design on the racks?
No, for the they're just putting together a plan for the locations of the signage and pavement markings.
Can we design our own?
On the website, there was different designs already.
Yeah,
And we
but-
get to choose which design we want.
But my question was, can we design our own, being we have a very talented fabricator at Public Works,
Like we did out there.
like we did out front?
Yeah.
I think at some point we talked about that and we took that back to MDOT and they said it would be easier because so many towns are involved to just kind of,
Have
Yeah,
a
with the
common
standard.
plan.
yeah, just kind of have everyone do the same thing. Yeah, I think you we talked about that the last.
That's been,
but,
done.
yeah, we
Something
tried
that-
that.
He's right, so.
So, we also need to revise the work plan that was submitted way back when it was awarded, and obviously with the delay, it's been, we've gotten off schedule, so we'll revise that when we have our meeting. And then once we have all the letters signed from the towns, the letter basically reiterates what we've already, which each of the towns have already committed to doing, and that's the installation and the maintenance of the bike racks. And then the last thing is, once we have the agreement executed with MDOT, we can proceed with the purchase of the bike racks and then distributing them to the towns. The final step is the project reporting and reimbursement. So that's kind of it. We do have, the grant offers 24 months to complete all of the work. So even though we're a little behind, we still have until September of 2015. We hope that we would have the bike racks installed by now, but you know, unfortunately, just with the nature of so many parties involved and just trying to stay on schedule. But I think we're still in good shape in terms of delivering before the deadline.
When you came before and we was discussing about the bike route that was being designed for the town and everything, I know one of the concerns was coming up High Street past the hospital, the little narrow lane. There was potholes that we were to consider and who's going to take care of. Is that part of this grant, the potholes? And see, because we're putting up bike racks and sit-up stations for bikers, it would have been great to have some of the people who initially ride the bikes through these designated areas to give us some concerns, some issues that we could at least bring to the table for you, so that with this grant, we know that we're not just putting up stations, but we're being safe at the same time, because I know that riding past High Street, where the hospital's entrance is, that is a very narrow space that we talked about before.
Yeah, unfortunately, this grant does not cover that. When we first had our initial meeting and talked about the possibility of actually submitting for the grants, we let the towns discuss what their priorities would be for the submission. And most of the towns came back and said that they wanted to apply for bike racks and signage because they were lower cost.
But just a concern, because
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
there's areas that there's even the drain, the covers that need to be altered a little bit, and if we're going to sit bike trails through this.
Yeah, and as I said, the grant is also, it also offers funding for construction. So if the next go round, if Elkton wants to apply for, you know, a second round of funding specifically for bicycle routes, then I would certainly encourage that.
Did anyone from our bike committee ride the route when they were together?
For the,
No,
specifically for the, what we're applying for the grant or for the bike plan?
no, when the committee was together, when the bike committee was formed.
No, because we actually aren't submitting for to implement a route. This is just the signage.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
The committee for the grant.
Is that
It's
committee
to
still
the
together?
plan.
I don't know, was that,
The bicycle committee came together to prioritize, I guess, the improvements that were discussed in the master plan and then ultimately resulted in the grant application. They haven't met recently. Terry staffs that meeting for us, but they, like I said, they for us to get implemented and then see what the next step is, yeah.
Mhm. We did take a comprehensive look at the routes when we put together the plan.
I remember that, but I was just wondering if anybody actually physically drove it with their bike that was on the committee.
There's a number of people on the committee were bicyclists.
Right, I remember that, yeah.
The map that's on your website,
that the comprehensive plan that shows Elkton, that shows there's some dotted lines, there was some solid
bicycle,
lines,
yes.
there's the route itself.
That's-
Then, I did see one that came through the woods. Is
That
that
was a
right?
proposed to an off-road, there was a
Okay.
proposed off-road route that one of the committee members had recommended.
And is that in these plans, or this is just strictly
For the-
signage and?
For the grant, it's just the signage.
Is there grant money in, is there any money included in there? I saw the items, but is there any money on the county level as far as getting this information out about each town now going to have a bike route, promoting bikes, anything like that, or has the town, have we set anything aside, or how are we going to get that information out that now we have these things available?
I think the press has done a good job in the past on getting, when the bike committee was formed, countywide, townwide. I don't know.
It'll be
Other
on the
than that,
website.
it'll, once it's out there, I'm sure they'll do a press release to the public. Jake's here, so he's listening.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience have a comment or a question about Bike Pass today that could help us along with this grant application? Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
You can go home now, right?
Yes, you don't have to say the rest. Please, yeah.
Right, every morning. No. Give us, he can give us some good detail.
Well, there's a couple of them, but a lot of them were, I don't know who was on the committee or not.
He will give us some
But
insight.
before, yeah.
Very good. Ms. Jean, you're on for phase two here of the, let's see, you're going to give us the planning department annual report.
Okay, before I discuss the annual planning report, I thought Mayor had suggested I give a little background information
Be great.
with respect to the planning commission, planning department, that sort of thing. And it's always good to refresh memories, even if someone understands all this and knows all this. So the state of Maryland grants land use planning authority to local jurisdictions such as Elkton through the Land Use Article of the Maryland Annotated Code. The statute outlines the responsibilities, roles, and functions of the Planning Commission and sets the ground rules for planning and zoning powers. The Planning Commission is charged with developing a comprehensive plan for the orderly development of the town. There are required elements in the plan, such as community facilities, land use, development regulations, sensitive environmental areas, transportation, and water resources. Elkton's 2010 comprehensive plan serves as a policy guide. Let me show it to you. This is what it looks like. And it's on our website. If you'd like a hard copy, please let me know. Serves as a policy guide and framework for future growth in the town of Elkton. Oh, Annotated Code of Maryland, sorry. That was the first thing. This is the Annotated Code of Maryland.
All right.
This is just the land use article. So. Never run out of-
With war and peace.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You're having trouble sleeping, there you go. It examines municipal growth and land use, water resources, including drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater facilities, transportation, public facilities, including police, fire, and emergency services, schools and libraries, economic development, housing, environmentally sensitive areas, and mineral resources, and issues related to downtown Elkton and urban design. So the plan's horizon is to the year 2030. Meaning the plan looks at growth and development during the next 20 years. Under state law, the town must review the plan at least once every 6 years. The next review should begin by 2016 and will likely result in changes to the plan. I'm going to change it every 10 years since it takes so long to go through this. Each chapter includes goals and objectives, a review of background information and trends, a discussion of issues, and a list of recommended policies and action items. In 2009, as part of the Smart Green and Growing legislation, the General Assembly of Maryland replaced the state's 8 planning visions with 12 planning visions. The planning visions are the state's land use policy, and local jurisdictions are required to incorporate these visions into their comprehensive plans and implement them through the zoning ordinance and other regulations. And real quickly, the 12 visions are quality of life and sustainability, public participation, growth areas, community design. You have a little more of an explanation in the handout. Infrastructure, transportation, housing, economic development, environmental protection, resource conservation, stewardship, and implementation. The comprehensive plan influences and is influenced by companion plans and documents that serve to implement the plan, such as the town zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, the Cecil County Master Water and Sewer Plan, which was, I think, last updated in '08. It's been updated since then. And guides the development of water supply and sewage systems and facilities by implementing the town's growth and development policies. The Cecil County Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan, Cecil County Solid Waste Management Plan, and Downtown Master Plan. Which is here. A number of other plans and studies have been completed that the town uses in its comprehensive planning program. I can discuss some of the items that were brought about, were discussed in the comprehensive plan, but I'll let you read those for yourself. Now, the Elkton zoning ordinance, which is this document, this provides the framework and regulations and enforcement that implement the comprehensive plan. So you have your comprehensive plan, and then you have the regulations that bring that plan to life. Subdivision regulations are also required, the purpose of which is for health, safety, welfare, and common interest of our citizens, and the subdivision regulations are on the back end of the zoning ordinance. It's for properly managing growth and development. It sets minimum lot widths and areas, and conveniently places school sites and open spaces, and addresses traffic, utilities, firefighting, access, recreation, and access to light and air. So the Planning Commission has formal decision-making roles, such as approval of site plans and subdivisions, and they also have advisory roles, such as preparing the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance, and making recommendations to your board, to the mayor and commissioners, on zoning amendments and rezonings, and to the Board of Appeals on special exceptions. The Board of Appeals acts in a quasi-judicial capacity. They hear cases that may be appealed to circuit court. They hear and decide appeals where it's alleged there is an error in any order, requirement, decision, or determination made by the zoning administrator in the enforcement of the zoning ordinance. They also hear and decide special exceptions and variance requests from the terms of the ordinance. The land use article also addresses historic preservation. Under declaration of public purpose, it states that it is a public purpose in the state to preserve sites, structures, and districts of historical, archaeological, architectural significance, and their appurtenances and environmental settings. Elkton has a historic district commission, and their powers and duties are also listed here. Now, the planning department served, it's a department of two, myself and Teresa Thomas. We serve as staff liaison to the mayor and commissioners, the planning commission, and the historic district commission, in addition to the bicycle committee. We implement the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan through the administration of the zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, and state and federal regulations, including our Chesapeake Bay Critical Area Program, floodplain regulations, forest conservation ordinance, and other land use laws. The planning department is responsible for administering and recommending amendments to you all, to the elected officials, on land use regulations and coordinating reviews of site plans, subdivisions, annexations, rezonings, special exceptions, and other land planning issues for compliance with various applicable laws. We also are responsible for grant research, application, administration of state and federal grants, such as Community Development Block Grant, Critical Areas, Community Legacy, Sidewalk Retrofit, Maryland Historic Trust, Program Open Space, Strategic Demolition and Smart Growth Impact Fund grants, and grants for MDOT and the NACO. The grants assist us in attaining the goals and objectives set forth in the comprehensive plan. Every time I fill out a grant application, they want to know where is it mentioned in any of these plans that this is what we want to do. And that really helps substantiate any grant application we have, so we make sure we have it included in these, or the marketing plan, or the TOD plan,
Wow.
any of those plans. So in addition, yeah. In addition to the above, I represent the town on the LAFCO Technical Advisory Committee, the Historic Elk Landing Foundation, the Cecil County Economic Development Commission on the Land Use Subcommittee, and on the Cecil County Watershed Implementation Plan Technical Advisory Committee. A little bit of personal information. I graduated from the University of Delaware with a bachelor's degree in geography, and I'm a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, and I maintain that certification by earning continuing education credits each year. I've been a member for 16 years. And then I ended with a little quote about from the American Planning Association describing planning as a dynamic profession that works to improve the welfare of people and their communities by creating more convenient, equitable, healthful, efficient, and attractive places for present and future generations. Planning enables civic leaders, businesses, and citizens to play a meaningful role in creating communities that enrich people's lives. Good planning helps create communities that offer better choices for where and how people live. Planning helps communities to envision their future. It helps them find the right balance of new development and essential services, environmental protection, and innovative change.
Very nice. Wow.
And the other thing that's required is I have to do an annual plan every year.
Perfect.
So for the this is actually in July for the state, but for the 2013 calendar year, what you have, you should have copies. Do you have copies?
Probably not, unless it's right here.
there. Sorry, yeah, you can pass these around. And I think I emailed them to you also.
Yeah, you did.
So, this is a list of planning-related activities that occurred in 2013, and it talks about subdivision site plans, everything that I discussed earlier. Describes the commissions and boards that we have, staff, and then it sort of calls out the types of development by the types of building permits and subdivisions and site plans and rezonings and special exceptions and amendments to the ordinance.
And work permits.
And historic district work permits, yep. So, I'm required to, the town is required to submit and file with the local jurisdiction this plan. So I think what that means is you have to approve it, and then I send it down to the state. This is, since you're not voting on anything tonight, I just wanted, this will be coming before you with the next.
Very nice. Jean, is there anything that you need to bring to us, that you need in your department, to make Elkton a better place, or to, is there anything we're missing?
Well,
Make recommendations to us. What are you thinking?
I think for the staff we have, and the budget that we have, I think we're doing pretty well. I think we're pretty efficient. I like a good challenge of a grant application. We've been really successful, knock on wood, and fortunate that in the time I've been here, I think we've brought in, or at least in my department, $5 million in grant money to the town to implement the plan, to improve infrastructure and that sort of thing. And it's, I think it's great. I think we're doing a good job. I think we're doing pretty well.
What year did you come on board with the town?
1992. I've been here 22 years.
22 years, and I would
Who
say...
hired you?
And this
Oh,
was
there you go. But I would say that your planning department has been involved in the town of Elkton's growth from probably being a 5,000 person community up to over a 15,000.
Yeah.
So it's-
We've had a lot of great successes. When we had to do the most recent sustainable community plan for the state in order to compete for community legacy and strategic demolition grants, we had to describe our accomplishments. And I kept running out of, we were limited to how many characters we could put in there, and I had to keep cutting it back because there was so much to talk about and so many things to be proud of. From the Main Street road restoration and streetscape program, you know, to this building and all kinds of great things that have been happening in this town. We have a lot to be proud of.
Does anyone have any questions about the planning department with Jean or the annual report?
Great job.
You're gonna present on that
It is a lot,
August
but listen, before you get to the next, any comments, questions? All right, let's go on to the next.
Forgot to mention, the Planning Commission and Board of Appeals are now also required to have education and training. And so this is an
Wow.
example of the training that they have to have.
Is it like an online course?
It's
or-
online, or they could attend in person some of the training sessions that they run throughout the year, that the state
Wow.
runs throughout the year.
Are we in compliance with that?
Yes, yes.
Very good.
Okay. I forgot. Okay, so then the second thing is a grant, a memorandum of understanding. Here's copies of that. this is the letter from the state approving the grant. So we applied for and received approval for a transportation alternatives program grant for East High Street and Locust Lane sidewalk improvement project. And what this will do is design and construct sidewalk improvements with 9 crosswalks and curb ramp segments for approximately 0.15 miles of new sidewalk on East High Street between South Street and Locust Lane, and on Locust Lane between East High Street and Booth Lane. And the intent of the program was to provide a real pedestrian connection between the residential neighborhoods up Locust Lane through the downtown, in anticipation of not only bringing them to the downtown, but if we get the train station up and running, that would help provide pedestrian connections to the train station. So we received $64,960 of grant money for, I think it's an $81,200 project cost. So our cost on this would be $16,240. And this is for design and construction, which is sort of new for this program. So we're trying to pick our way through that. We have to, it's federal money, so we have to go through the NEPA process, easement, if there's any easement acquisitions needed, we have to go through that. The way we advertise and hire the contractors is regulated through the federal government. So yeah, so it's not a big grant, but I think that end of the High Street area, we sort of ended our sidewalk improvements right around where the senior housing is on High Street. And it needs to be continued and connect to the rest of the neighborhoods.
It continues up, okay, here we go. It'll continue up, perfect, that's what I was wanting. There's gonna be sidewalk.
Coming out of Friendship Heights, it'll connect
Yes.
to where the board's lot is.
That's a tough area to walk
It
through.
is, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a tough area.
Yeah.
And the population is aging, and they need to have better sidewalk facilities. Yeah. Now, the Locust Lane area between Main Street and High Street, that little section of Locust Lane is also in need of sidewalks, but it has to be analyzed and determined how we can do it, because it's such an unusual street. There's holes right in the middle of the sidewalk, so we have to figure out, can we narrow the street? At one point in time, in 2003, the town considered making that road one way, and I think that the citizens were not fully in favor of it, so that was dropped. So WMATCO is actually reviewing that for us, again, taking another look at it, and seeing if there's some way that we can accommodate sidewalks on Locust Lane between High and Main.
Very good.
You have one street down here, Booth Lane, what is that?
I think that's the little alley.
That's right, that's what.
Yeah, that little alley.
Gotcha.
Any of the board members have any other questions about this?
I have one thing about sidewalks, none of these. I was out at, oh my gosh, 55 and older community out on, right across from Vine.
Yeah, I know, Whitehall Road.
Yeah, whatever the community is on the left-hand side. I picked up, this weekend I was out there. It's
Phyllis
called-
and Whitehall, Phyllis and
Yeah,
Whitehall.
that's it.
No sidewalk up the side.
There's no sign, and they are absolutely still livid about it. I know that's not ours. I asked that before, that's not our road, right?
Wasn't that supposed to be a requirement of that Walmart property at one time or not?
No, he's talking
No,
about
no.
Villas
Vendors.
connected with Redmond.
Oh,
Yeah, the other
Yeah.
side, that's a county road.
There's a couple of issues there, which is
That
unfortunate.
doesn't have that either.
Whitehall Road in that area is county jurisdiction.
Right.
And the area where the sidewalk is missing is a section of property that is owned by a property owner, developer, but he hasn't come in with any projects yet. So when his project comes in, he'd have to put sidewalks in, but in the meantime, it's sitting there, and it's very difficult for the folks there to get to the shopping center.
Oh, yeah, they hate it, because they have to walk out on the road.
Right.
With their walkers and everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we could do, where the county could maybe push a little bit, or like.
Is that in the town, that's in the town?
It's a
road?
county road.
It's a county.
Oh, it's a county road.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll send a letter to them.
Well, I don't know if there's space there, but Bruce owns that.
Oh, Bruce Snyder, is it,
Yes, put it on.
what's the length of that What'd you say?
300 feet.
It's not very long.
No, 300 feet. It's probably a football field.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, we could,
Yeah,
we'll ask.
And because there's nothing on the right-hand side either.
Mhm.
They can't even cross over.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Right.
Mr. Lemon, you had a question?
Is the $15,000 in current fiscal year 15 budget?
It's 50,000 in our current budget.
15,000 in our current budget for the difference,
For the road.
for the,
I'm not sure if it's in the public works budget. I have some in my planning budget, but I'm not sure if that was allocated for this or for that project.
I will get that answer for you. Mr.
Is
Litzenberg?
there anything in your future about the sidewalk in front of the Methodist Church? I know that's been brought up many times, talking about safety. That place, sooner or later, an elderly person, either going to church or coming to church or whatever it may be, is gonna break a leg.
You know, I agree with you there. I walk through there quite a bit, and I think that's something we have to decide as a group. Do we want to pull up the brick or see what we can do, can't do? Is that where the granite is also? You got the granite?
All that'll have to come up.
Yeah.
You can't, because on the other side, we took all the granite up, because you can't get a good line in there, but I put that in there. You do a brick inlay like you did on the other side, but,
How's the other side holding up? Is it?
oh, yeah, it's fine, you know.
I agree. I think that's something that we got to address pretty quickly.
Very dangerous.
And I agree with you. It's definitely a,
I thought they had looked at that.
All the board has to do is point a finger at me and say, get it done.
I hear
We
you.
didn't budget for it, so wait for the budget amendment, because it's really expensive.
A lot of the brick is very dangerous.
Yes. That's right.
Well, you know, the tough part about that is it has that historic look and it looks great, the beautiful granite, and I'd love to be able to put that granite back in, but put the, yeah. It's one of them juggles there but it absolutely needs to be done.
I know Gary talked about that all the time, he was on the board, but also I think there were some people living right along or wanted to maintain it, but it's not safe.
It's not safe. I think that's a decision we'll have to make at the next, can you bring that up at the next meeting, Willis? And I think if all of us could take a look at it over the next couple of weeks and let's make a decision. I think we can find money to make that happen. Because I think it is a safety issue.
Definitely. is a-
You can't have a person going into, whether it's the church or using that street. It's very dangerous through there. But Mr. Lehman, I'm trying to think when you asked that question, you were asking the difference between the grant application and the amount. We will get you that answer where we have that money at. Gene mentioned that it could be, I'm not sure if it's in your budget or if it's in the Public Works budget. Is that correct, Gene?
Correct.
But I'll have that answer for you, sir.
Nice.
We have, are you done, Gene? We're done? Thank you. I was very impressed with everything you brought to the table.
Oh, good,
Thank
good.
you.
One sheet.
We have some department heads here tonight, as well as most of the workshop meetings. Does anyone from the board have any questions or any comments for any of the department heads that are in the audience tonight?
Do they need to execute this?
That's the next meeting.
Nothing?
They can't do it.
You can bring it to the next meeting.
I'm going to bring it for information. National Attorney should review it first. I'm sorry.
Do you have the MOU?
Sounds like.
You should ask if he has the.
Roof thing, sounds like when you throw your pictures out, comes up as Clinton.
On the,
No, doesn't. Bueller.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, you have the map somewhere, right? To show Earl.
I don't.
I know which one you're talking about, right? Coming past.
Yeah, it's the little alley
Right.
that makes a full square
Big
around that
square
property.
around that property.
But it's really considered roof thing, not.
They call it
No, it's Blue Lane.
Blue Valley.
Blue Lane on the top.
Yeah,
Right
Blue-
around.
oh, Blue Lane. Well,
yeah, around the.
we know what we're talking about.
One of the, and I'll bring this up to Dan, since he's out here with Public Works, and I actually met with Dan and the fellow that was, that has been doing some of the buying down at the facility, and we were promoting the buy local as much as we can. And I think it's a wonderful thing. You know, I'd like to use examples that the more that we can continue to buy local, you really don't realize how many town residents work at some of these businesses, which it just fingers out, and it's always a good thing if we can bring it together. But they've raised a few good questions down there today to me about some of the reasons why we are purchasing from some of the places outside the town of Elkton, and I'll bring them up at the regular meeting when we get to the financial status. But they're going to work hard to build relationships here in the downtown area and outside the town area, and make sure that we can try to make a lot of positive things happen for the town. One of the, Dan also gave me a list of some things today, and I'll bring it up to the board in an email about, we discussed a little bit about the water meters. Once again, after we did the water meter audit, or the water audit, he's putting together a plan to actually, I'm going to say,
Twist them up.
stitch them up or tie them up so that so everyone will seal them. Everyone will have their meter sealed, and we're going to do this hopefully annually to make sure everyone's water meter is working properly. And if we do that, then I think it could save the town a tremendous amount of money, and I can elaborate that on at any point. But one of the things that I really wanted the board to consider is I think the town is looking better. I think if anything that we've done, hopefully we've changed, brought some excitement and some energy.
Change the mindset.
Change the mindset a little bit, and I'd like to, if I can find the money for the town, I'd like to find some additional bodies to take one street at a time. One street at a time, and whether it's putting the weed killer on every street and then going back and hand picking it, but I want every street in this town to look beautiful. And hopefully we'll be able to find that in the budget. I think we need probably 3, 4, maybe 5 additional summer help guys, but if it's something that we can pull off, I think it would go a long way, once again, to continue that we're here vested in our own town, and we wanted to make it look right. And there's a lot of developments and streets that we've neglected over the years, and I think it's because we just don't have the resources to do it. No fault to anybody. I think everyone's working hard to make it happen, but I just think it's, let's make an impact. And please consider that. I want you guys to please consider that, and I'll hopefully have a proposal for everyone to talk about. But that was something Dan and I kind of talked about a little bit together today, and hopefully I'll be able to find some money to make some of these things happen, I hope. With that, anyone else have any comments for him?
The director of the human resources are here. I just want to know the status of where we are with the employee handbook. We had a stoppage there at one time. I don't know what's going on now. I know you was without help. I don't know how much progress you have made now that you've had somebody to come along to give you the additional help.
Yeah, well, thank you for inquiring. Right now is we had a legal review of the updates, because what we did with the handbook is we just did updates to the handbook, and we had a legal review of the updates. There were some changes, and I'm currently working with our employment lawyer on those updates, and he made some changes, and I'm waiting for him to get back to me on a couple of them. With that done, then I'm hoping that we can move forward with those updates so that we can go ahead with what our premise was, is to have those updates and then schedule, as I believe we plan to, is to schedule meetings with the different departments and present the updates to the handbook to each department. and if they had any questions upon those updates, the HR department would answer them at that time. So we are moving ahead with that.
Would you apprise us with the updates before you meet with the department?
Yes, that was our understanding. Now, I do believe that I do believe that we will be getting handbooks to the mayor and to the other new commissioner, but I do believe that the current commissioners do have the updates. I'm just waiting for the legal review, so you will have that in hand before the books go out to the general employees.
Also, Lieutenant Walters sent an update as far as cars being in yards that are untagged or on the street. The building and planning used to do that, and Lewis took that out of their hand. The police department now does that, but I think the officers who's ever within a certain sector, that becomes his responsibility now.
That's correct.
Right. But how does that work? Because I guess you have different officers.
He gets it, what Lieutenant Waldron is doing, he's taking a list and he's actually assigning the certain property to certain officers.
Okay.
So they get back to him, so there's no overlapping, that kind of thing.
Because there was a guy up in the Heights, had some cars up there that are illegal, and, you know, he's been beating the brushes trying to get them taken care of, but
Sure.
the police department's supposed to make haste with them, you know, the day of the mark.
Right.
I believe the comment that was made is they're driving without tags.
Right. Oh, they're switching tags.
Or they're switching tags.
I think if you're speaking of the Wesley Street.
Yeah, Wesley Street, I didn't want to say
tonight-
it, but you did that.
I did.
also.
They're actually supposed to go out there tonight, and they're there, they're supposed to tell.
Yeah, they got the cars on the street that aren't tagged.
Very good.
There was a couple things I noticed over the week riding through town, and thanks to Lewis, he took care of one of them. So I had a phone call from someone was loading trucks of water from down to the park. I guess filling up their jugs. Lewis took care of that. If you see something in town, you know, it doesn't seem right, especially our taxpayers' dollars being used up somehow, then just give a call to the town and someone will check into it. Another thing, I was riding down a certain road, I'm not gonna say the name, but our street.
Was it my street?
Yes, it was. No. But I was just happened to turn around and look at someone unloading some wood off of a truck, and I started to notice Delaware tags. And as an official, or just a taxpayer, I figured it was my duty to turn around and say something. Felt awkward, but I pulled up, introduced myself. I said, I want to be very respectful when I ask you this, but I noticed your Delaware tags, and you're not supposed to be bringing something and dropping it on town property. And the guy looked at me and said, I really appreciate you for bringing that up, but it's coming from that backyard there. And he just pulled it up because it had Delaware tags, but it just looked unusual. So I did feel awkward, but I felt good after I did it at the same time. But I just want to say, if you see something unusual, if you do it in a respectful way, you know, at least could get a good result and answer them. And those are see something great.
Well, we have, there's, and of course, Dan will say, we have a couple of properties around here that end up with trees at the curb, and where trees show up, then they're in their yard. So we're not exactly sure where all that's coming from, but we suspect they're either in the business of eliminating trees somewhere and bringing it for us to pick up, because the tons and tons of yard waste that we pick up, we don't think it all originates here, but that's where you need the cops out there keeping an eye on things too, you know?
And you gotta do it in a way where you don't get in arguments. I didn't put no argument. I just noticed, and then I looked in the back and they were cutting wood, so
That's a good case for.
I think we put a hotline number up with Lewis's cell phone number. And everyone calls that number. Joe, neighborhood watches. Is that something that makes sense, doesn't make, is that something we can talk about when, and I wanted to apologize to Commissioner Van Reenen that I mentioned to him at the last meeting that Matt was gonna be here for this meeting, and it's actually, he was on vacation, and he'll be here for the first workshop in August. But neighborhood crime watches, is that something that would have some value to us, going along with what you're saying, a hotline to, and maybe I don't know, I'm just asking.
They can be beneficial, but you have to get buy-in from the community. Generally, if they have a homeowners association, I tell them to start there and see what kind of buy-in they're gonna get, because it takes some man-hours. Once they get a group together, what I do is I usually send one of our officers who does the community service. They'll go out there and talk to them and help them get started if that's what they want to do.
Okay.
But it's really, the onus is on them to get the ball rolling, because it takes some man-hours, and they need to have enough people to do it. A lot of times when they put them together, like any other group, you have 2 or 3 people are doing all the work, and they just need to make sure they got the buy-in from the whole community.
Understand.
Where do they go to get that information though? If I go to Sherry, my HOA president, where would she go? And I have collectively 10 people. Where does she go after that? She comes to you?
Yeah, she can give me a call, and
Or the
I'll.
police department, she
Sure.
gives them a call.
Sure.
right?
And
You send
they'll
somebody.
actually direct them to me, so if just extension 18, if they give me a call, I'll be more than happy to talk to whoever gives me a call and steer them down the right road.
Okay.
And then does there need to be any, sorry, Rob.
No, go ahead.
Does there need to be a percentage of residents per neighborhood?
No, there's no requirement like that, no.
All right, what would you say a neighborhood of Chapel Run? There's, I think, 90 houses or 84
Sure.
houses. It's something that would be sustained a long-term, at least, what, 10
Yeah,
people out of there?
I would say, at least, because it's really gonna come down to the group and how much time and effort they want to put in. They're the ones that have to be policing it, and, basically, like I tell everyone, it's just the philosophy of being a good neighbor. Neighbors watching neighbors, neighbors
Right.
watching their house, that kind of thing.
What about a neighborhood watch sign? Do we get them for them, or?
Yeah, that would be on that event.
Okay.
Well, that was always my thought. You go into some areas and you see the sign.
Right.
And I always felt that kind of hindered.
Does it reduce it?
50% reduction.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what
I don't
the-
know of any tangible study that it actually reduces,
Really?
yeah, it actually reduces crime. Just the sign, I guess if you actually had a real active neighborhood watch, and the word got out that, it was an active, then absolutely probably be beneficial.
Especially if there's some publicity about neighborhood watch foiling some burglary or
Right,
something.
they have a neighborhood
That
presence around
does a
there.
lot.
I'm serious.
They know. They know. Because, oh, go ahead, DJ, I keep interrupting you. I was getting ready to cut everything off.
No,
You
no,
got
no,
it.
I have just, we have I saw that in here, there's a comprehensive plan for EDC. So I really would like to sit down with you, and the Alliance and stuff, and really start diving into that. I can't find a comprehensive plan though for the homeless and/or social workers and/or something. Do we have a department that handles?
It's at the county level, the social services at the county level.
Okay, so nothing at the, I know about the county, but there's nothing at the
We'd be
town level.
duplicating efforts. They're the ones that have they get the grants that would help the homeless and the homeless veterans and that sort of thing. I can't remember the young lady's name.
He's not
Stephanie?
here anymore.
Oh.
Neighbor Shooty. We had the homeless coalition. The
Right.
mayor had requested that we start that up. So that was a group, but it's been inactive for a little over a year. Neighbor Shooty used to be the facilitator for that.
Who replaced them?
They have not, they didn't get her.
Do we-
Diane. No replacement.
The homeless, do we have a plan to
The last time we thought well, there was time that we were trying to help the homeless or help ourselves, and we ended up in court. No, we don't have a plan.
I want to request to have the 2 organizations that are within the town to come before the mayor. In fact, I just had lunch with the executive director for Meeting Grounds. And I'd asked her if she would come along with the.
Men's shelter?
Well, that's all of them, men's shelter,
All part of that.
women's, it's all
Okay.
of them. Along with the gentleman over on Bridge Street. If he would come to a town meeting to kind of tell you and the mayor what
I think that would be
exactly
great.
they're doing right now for the transient community.
I know that a lot of them use the services over by the school building. His name is Dr. Baylor, is that his name?
Dr. Bear
Is it- is it
from
Baylor?
Upper Bay?
Yes.
That's mental health.
That's mental health.
Okay, and he was on that board at one time.
Yes,
right?
he was.
Is it something where we should invite him also? Because don't a lot of those people use his services?
If needed, yeah, but they will send people within their organization to the other services. They deal with all the services, the health department, social services, the health center, Upper Bay.
The doctor
No, well, no, the Mean Brown does, when people, because you have to be clean to go into one of the homeless shelters. So if they do get approached by someone, and she told me I just walked somebody right over to the health department, or the health department. So, but I would love to have them come to a meeting and discuss
This is
what's happening.
kicking the can around constantly, not kicking the can out. You know, we need to come up with a solution of some sort.
Well, but I think you need to know what's in
Agreed.
effect right
Agreed.
now, what's happening.
And I know the Texas County Ministerial Alliance, they met today at the Presbyterian Church, and I guess they are going to try to come up with some plan for how they can help the homeless or left out or downtrodden, however you want to term them. And they also have these soup kitchens and other churches that feed them. And I think they're coming together, I think to have maybe one site for these people to come and get their
Right.
needs,
Right.
rather than for them to go to this church on this date, this church on this date. And I think they're trying to come together. So that would be
And with
one.
the rotating shelter, I know Pastor Alan Bosmany, off of Whitehall Road,
Right.
he's really sheltered mostly all of the, once that starts up for the winter months.
So the Ministerial Alliance would be also.
Yeah,
I'd love to have them in here and educate us.
okay.
So if you could make that happen, Mary Jo, I think that would give us a starting point. And I agree with DJ that let's take a proactive position on this and let's see where we can help and I think see what the input brings. Anything else, sir? Anyone from the audience have anything additional to
I
say?
think a lot of your problems is your subsidized housing, your Section 8 properties. You come into West Main Street, came in the other afternoon, I mean, it's deplorable down there. You've got living room furniture on the front porch and people sitting there and drinking their beer. They've got the right to do that. I mean, they do have the right to do that. And when you see that on your front porches, your neighborhoods are going down the tubes.
Thank you. I don't know what from a building code standpoint,
Not if you want to stay out of federal district.
I know, believe me, I know. All right, well, it's 5:05. 5:05, I'd like to invite everyone to come up to get a sandwich if you'd like to have one. This meeting is adjourned.
There we go.